Hello, everybody. Happy Monday.
Hello,
and
hello.
welcome back.
Yes, welcome back to an exciting Monday with just me and Kate. So
I mean, it is exciting. It is
it
exciting.
is.
Let's
Yeah,
not
I
sell
did like.
ourselves short.
Yeah, I liked our conversation last week, and I think yeah, and good to see you, Up3, and Kate's mom in the chat. And for everybody that wants to pick up on a subscription in my Rumble, please go there and just pick it up, and you can go out of there if you want to, or you
Yeah,
can.
if you're watching live, you can just say a quick hello in her chat, and it will give you a free subscription. So, and thank you to Just In Case Friend for doing
Yes.
that on both of our channels. It is greatly appreciated. So today, we're going to go into a little bit of the division tactics that we're seeing in the world. And the reason that these tie into the dark night of the soul is that, you have your individual dark night of the soul, but we are also all going through a collective dark night of the soul. And there's a collective kind of identity crisis that makes us cling to these labels. I guess we put ourselves in boxes because we want to belong to something. We join the truther movement, or we consider ourselves to be one political party or another, and we kind of cling to these things because we're in the pursuit of truth. That's typically what happens, but these things are what they weaponize it against us. They weaponize our own emotions against us, and all of these things to get us divided so that we're arguing with each other. And when people are arguing with each other, then they are not growing, they're not healing, they're not actually learning the truth. It kind of stunts your growth as far as learning the truth, because you're too busy arguing over stuff that either doesn't matter, or it's not as pressing, or it could be just completely fabricated to begin with. So I know last week we were discussing how Boone Cutler had just passed. And so people were recirculating a bunch of his, his Twitter is a treasure trove of really great things to think about. He was a really positive guy. He wanted to keep us focused on positivity. Do I have that book anyway? I think it's right over there. He wrote with General Flynn. He wrote the book on 5G warfare. So to teach the people how we are being, how psyops work, and how they work against us. So this is a thread that I did actually. So this was his post that prompted the thread that I did. He says, in the future, people will ask how it happened. This time it happened with micro-targeting and micro-messaging on social media. And so these are the 12 steps. Number 1, polarization. Number 2, indoctrination. Number 3, separation. 4, define in-group, out-group. 5, manifest distrust. 6, develop paranoia. 7, promote life or death flashpoint. 8, organize the mob. 9, get funding. 10, train and equip. 11, he left blank. And we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to tell you guys what I think goes there, but we can discuss that. And I would love to hear your take on it as well as anybody in the chat. And number 12, start the war. We've warned you all for years. Protect your mind, control your emotions. Good luck all the way, Boone. That was written on June 20th, 2020, but he posted this May 9th, 2024. Do you have anything to add before we go into the thread where I break it down?
No, because I'm pretty unfamiliar with it myself, as I was in Mexico at the time when this all happened, I believe. Yeah. No, actually, this was 2024. So I was here, but
Yeah.
yeah, I missed it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, not necessarily on Boone, but just on um, division tactics and how they kind of play into the dark night of the soul to keep us separated and not
Oh yeah,
healing.
I mean, definitely, and it's yeah, it's definitely an organized thing that um, you know, to keep everybody separated. And I do agree with all these points. Um, yeah, it pretty much covers it.
Yeah. Okay. So this was, so I came across his post and I was thinking about it and like really, it struck me how important it is for us to be able to recognize exactly what he is outlining here. And, when they're kind of just words unless you really think about what each step means and therefore we can apply it and see um like we can literally look around and see these things happening. We know that they're happening. We know that we're being
Right.
divided in these ways. And once it's laid out for you this way, I think it becomes really obvious, apparent. So I did this thread where I was breaking it down, and this is going to be kind of like the first part of it. But then I'm going to let you know like where I think it's headed. Because obviously, when we're reading this, we know the political division. We know how people are being divided into right versus left, conservative versus liberal. Not just in the States of America, but all over the world. And so, obviously, we'll read it through that lens first. Okay, so thanks to the people recirculating this, I'm going to attempt to break down what I think is a really important post from the man who literally, along with General Flynn, wrote the book on 5G warfare. I'll also give my best guess as to what I think the missing number 11 is. So, Mr. Cutler is saying the wars of the future will be started online through social media manipulation. He's showing us the stages of radicalization and escalation from creating division, stoking the flames, all the way to open violence or the start of war. So basically, where once upon a time propaganda has always been a part of war. They've always used propaganda to get people on board with war. But the landscape has changed because now that propaganda isn't just being passed around in leaflets. It's not just posters on walls anymore. It is in our faces every single day on social media. And not only that, it is custom tailored to us. And that means that they can custom tailor it down to even an individual. They can target individuals based on what you're liking, what you're engaging with. They can learn to know things about you, like, are you a parent? Are you gay? Are you a vegetarian? Are you typically a pacifist? Like every single detail about your personality, they can now gauge these things with algorithms and then custom tailor propaganda for each person. So he has two words in his thing: micro targeting and micro messaging. So these are the definitions of that. Micro targeting is the practice of slicing an audience into very small segments based on demographics, behavior, interests, location, even consumer data, and delivering tailored content directly to them. Micro messaging is the actual content tweaking within those tailored communications, where subtle word choice, imagery or tone is adjusted to resonate with each micro segment. So, for example, they can run basically the same ad for things that would target, say, stay-at-home moms with like, oh, do this to protect your family. And at the same time, they could run the same kind of ads on single men saying, whatever. So this is how they can pretty much custom tailor the propaganda to get us, on board with these things.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, well, no coincidence, but I saw today a post where it's also true that when you want to buy something or you want to book a plane ticket or whatever, the price is adapted to where you are. And so your IP address, wherever you are, and the prices just change when somebody, for example, walked into a store and or wherever area they're in. Um, like the difference, for example, in a plane ticket can differ for hundreds of dollars. And so if they can do that, based on location. They can also do this exactly as you explained about, your life situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. It's not just, not just pricing. They can custom target audiences with particular ads based on,
Yeah,
like how they make the ad, how they represent the ad, and what kind of words they use, what kind of imagery. They know the things that you like. So if they're doing that with consumerism, if they are targeting people based on what they will buy to get you to buy more things, of course they're going to use that same technology and knowledge to do their bidding for other things. And in this case, it is, I believe, they want us divided amongst ourselves. What did it say? Into slicing an audience into very small segments. Like, when I was thinking about this, I almost did a thread of, what are they called? Polls. Except
right,
I know people do not follow instructions, because I think if people actually followed instructions, this would be very telling. Because if you started and you had a thread of polls and it started off like, okay, I am a Trump supporter, I'm not a Trump supporter. Then if you said yes, if you're a Trump supporter, now all these people now vote in the next poll. And the next poll says, okay, you're a Trump supporter. Are you a Q follower or not? Okay, now
right,
you're a Trump supporter and you're a Q follower. Now the next one, if you voted yes into those two. Now, if you're a Q follower, do you believe in the quantum financial reset? Whatever. Like, you can just
right.
keep breaking people down into these subsets and getting them to argue amongst each other. Like, it's not enough that we are just all patriots and we want sovereignty for human beings and we believe in freedoms for all mankind. Like, that should be what unites us. And if we all stayed united on that, we'd be very more effective.
Well, yeah, and keep also in mind that people are under such stress levels now, even like collectively, right? With all the news coming at us and things that don't work out, and violence going on, shootings everywhere and whatnot. That has such a big influence on people's moods that they tend to lash out by going into arguments with. I mean, I'm one of those. I tend to fall for it if I'm too much on X. I actually fall for that,
Eggs.
and it's
I love
crazy.
you.
You just get like so triggered. And I do think a lot of people that are like, I literally have to just say, okay, I'm not going to go on X because I'm going to dig my own hole with that. And but it counts for really all social medias. And another scary thing that I noticed, because I'm on my own, so I don't talk out loud, but yet the weirdest things that I think about, I see it on my feed. For example, on Instagram, certain ads that I was thinking about something, of buying something that is so out of the ordinary, and I get an ad about it. And it didn't happen just once, it happens over and over again. So I'm starting to think, can they also read our minds now with the technology they have? And I do absolutely believe they can.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself, but I have
Right,
done that as well. I have tested that. I often talk about, I mean, I know a lot of people have done this, but I remember my ex-husband was on tour and they were talking about this kind of thing,
right,
about how, at that point they weren't talking about reading minds, but they were talking about, like, anytime you think about you talk about something, you'll start getting ads for it on Instagram. And so they wanted to put it to a test. And here were, 8 guys in a van. None of them owned cats, but they were like, let's test it. We'll talk about cat food. And they started talking about cat food, and 3 out of the 8 of them started getting ads for, like, Purina cat chow or something like that, or like
right.
Petco, or things that related to cats and pets. And so they were like, holy shit.
Yeah,
Um, and I've tested it too. It's I don't know if they're necessarily able to read thoughts, but maybe there's something to, you know, computers and quantum computers can calculate things that are beyond our conception. And so maybe it's not that they're necessarily reading your thoughts, but maybe they can kind of predict, kind of like we were talking about with the yellow cube technology or Project
right.
Looking Glass or whatever, kind of predict where your thought is going. Maybe they know, what you've seen that day, what you've already been looking up, what you've already been listening to, and maybe in that way they're able to kind of calculate where
Yeah.
your thought process is going to go. I have no idea. Or maybe they're implanting the thoughts to begin with.
That's a very good one too, indeed, because it's the same like I just said. When I go on X and I see all my whole feed full of everything that really triggers me, and there you have it, right?
My mom said, I get wrinkle ads and belly fat. They have my picture.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
yes.
mom, I sent them your picture.
That's so
Um,
funny.
anyway, so any of these ways that we start putting ourselves in boxes. We do it to ourselves. It's not like we're
Oh yeah,
being separate, like we voluntarily, when somebody becomes a vegan or somebody becomes they're doing what's the thing where you only eat the carnivore diet or whatever, like they're talking about it all the time and they identify themselves by that. We
oh yeah.
identify ourselves every day. I am a conservative. I am, a female. I live in this state.
I am white. I am black. I am this. I'm that.
Exactly.
I mean, really, it's incredible how that categorizing of all these labels are so ingrained. Specifically because I follow everything American. Even my ex is set to America. Otherwise, I get all my own country stuff, and I don't care. But it's very interesting to see the difference in um, the posts that are there and how people are, even when they're triggered, and they go like, okay, or you're just a white person. I'm like, what does it even mean? I don't know, but the same thing is about yeah, really all labels, like somebody can be gay. I'm fine with gays, but now, oh, because I'm triggered, oh, they're called all faggots, right? And I'm like, that's just so wrong. um it's it gets amplified. The label becomes amplified as soon as somebody is triggered about the topic itself. And holy moly, they really going at it, right? Every like curse word in the book is coming by when somebody gets triggered by a post. And
Yeah.
so it's amplified that way.
Right. Because when you go into your normal life, like for myself, for example, um, if I come across somebody who is gay, it doesn't it's not something that I think about. It's like thinking about what you had. If somebody tells me what they had for breakfast, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what you had for breakfast. It's not something that weighs have, but suddenly you get online and we are in this division war where suddenly it's like you're on that side and I'm on this
Yes.
side. Whereas when you're in your normal life, you're just all people moving around. And, I'm only looking at somebody's actions and whether they are a moral and ethical person or if they're an asshole.
Right.
I really, so,
Well, but also they combine labels with each other, right? Because if I say I'm a vegetarian, I am, but not completely. I'm kind of a flexitarian. But either way, if I'm talking about being a vegetarian, it's immediately like, oh, you stupid leftist, and I'm like, but I'm not,
right.
right?
Right. Well, that's why, like, for example, when they wanted to paint Trump supporters as homophobic and racist, it, then you have a bunch of gay and black and Hispanic Trump supporters coming out and be like, well, that's weird, and they'll still bust a cog, but they will also just they'll say like, oh, you have internalized racism. You hate
Right.
yourself because you're black. Like, there's no way that you could not be a racist if you voted for Donald Trump. So even though you're black, it must be that you have internalized racism and you hate yourself. It's like
Yeah.
anything to shove you into that box because there can't be nuances. Anyway, let's just get through this thread so I can
Yeah.
take this off the screen. Okay, so now we're getting into the steps, the 12 steps of how they take us from just kind of arguing amongst each other to full-blown war. Okay. Number one is polarization. This is when you split society into opposing extremes, the deliberate process of amplifying divisions so people stop seeing common ground, are pushed into us versus them camps, and view those on the other side not as neighbors with different views, but as threats to be defeated. Number two is indoctrination, shaping thought through repeated messaging, slogans, and selective, quote, facts until people accept a single narrative as absolute truth and stop questioning it. Over and over and over again. Trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. Now, when you go out and you see somebody that has a conflicting point of view, you're not looking at another human being with a conflicting point of view. Now you see the enemy who is defying science and wants people dead.
Right.
That's what you were seeing with COVID. It was we trust the science, and y'all want everybody to die. It wasn't that like, no, we actually all have a difference of opinion of what's going on here and what the best tactic is. Number three, separation, breaking connections between groups by isolating them socially, culturally, or physically, so they stopped interacting and only reinforced their own echo chambers. I said, I bet we can give some examples of this that we lived through. Obviously, COVID was a big one of those. But now you're starting to take the groups that have already separated themselves, and you're starting to divide those groups amongst each other. Another example of this that I will give is, I truly believe that in the beginning, we kind of all naturally started to gravitate towards these private groups where we could all chat amongst each other of like-minded people. And I think that those were very infiltrated initially. They wanted to get into those groups because they wanted to break them apart. Because when people are organized as a team and working together, then they are more of a threat. So to weaken the system, any group that gets established will be infiltrated and separated.
Right.
Number four, define in-group, out-group. So this is drawing hard boundaries around who belongs and who doesn't, convincing people that loyalty to the group is survival and outsiders are enemies. So it goes back to, again, these are not people that are just like, okay, I eat meat and you are a vegetarian. Right. Two things that do not matter to each other. It does not affect my life that what you put in your mouth. It does not affect your life what I put in my mouth. But now suddenly we have to roll our eyes at each other and say, you're contributing to murder, or, you're an arrogant asshole who wants everybody to eat gray matter. And, you want to take away my ability to eat meat.
Right. Yeah, it becomes an existential threat. I mean, there's no nuance anymore whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Number five, manifest distrust, planting suspicion toward anyone outside of the group, making people doubt institutions, neighbors, and even longtime friends who don't fully conform. So now you finally find your group that you think to cling to, and now not even that is going to be good enough. Now they're going to start to seed suspicion within groups and towards, obviously everyone, this says outside of the group, but anyone in the group as well. It's just they won't rest until you are suspicious of everyone around you. And it's not like, if you have a difference of opinion, we can't just have differences of opinion. We are now enemies. We're suspicious that the other person is actually going to take away something from us, our rights, or, our life, or whatever it is. 6, develop paranoia, flooding the space with fear of hidden plots, traitors, or conspiracies until people feel constantly under threat and ready to lash out. I said Mossad anyone, because if anyone can remember when I was targeted, as I was called Mossad, and half the population of this community lost their minds. And, it's not just me, it's everybody. Kash Patel's wife gets called, or girlfriend gets called Mossad. It's really any female in this space, I've noticed, gets called Mossad. And it's kind of like, it's an instant distrust of anybody that's a female. Oh, you're a honeypot. you're CIA honeypot or you're Mossad honeypot. Like, you can't be a female and actually have an opinion in here.
Right.
Number 7, promote life or death, flashpoint, framing political or cultural disputes as existential crisis where compromise means destruction and the only option is victory. So again, this is not, everything is amplified so that it is a way bigger deal than it is. It's not just differing opinions. It is an existential crisis
Right.
to, you are threatening me. You are threatening my life. You are threatening my family. You are threatening my freedoms because you believe what you believe.
Right. Yeah.
Organize the mob, turning online anger into real world power by uniting scattered individuals into rallies, groups, or movements that can be directed toward action. Then you televise it. The world is watching. It's so funny because the other day when I made this thread, I literally almost wrote George Soros at the end of this. And then I was
Right.
like, no, I'm not going to do that because, I had a whole million things of what was going on in my mind. I was just trying to give people a template and not make it too specific. But then a couple days later, he's in the news for exactly that reason.
Right.
And we do know, I mean, he's kind of the poster child for it. He's somebody that we all kind of know is contributing in exactly this. I'm sorry. It was the next one that was the George Soros one, but it's the same vein, organizing the people. So now you have a bunch of people that you have taken their beliefs and made them more extreme. Now you got to organize them so that they have kind of a united front. So now we are a thing. We
Right.
are a group. We are this thing. And I, was it this one? I don't remember.
Well, I think they actually belong in both because it's kind of the cause and effect. It belongs together anyway because that's the whole tactic. And whether it's Soros or Fauci or what's his name, Bill Gates, in every segment or in every segment in society, this is being implemented, whether it's through media to influence people, or through science, or through health. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The next one was the Soros one. Get funding, securing money and resources from sympathetic backers, whether through donations, outside sponsors, or hidden channels to fuel the cause. I actually, like I said, I almost put Soros at the end of this, and my feeling is that it's more so that you have kind of shadow funding from these large entities. I mean, the people at the top of the pyramid, the top of the food chain, it's not, they have more money than they can ever spend. Money
Oh
is
yeah.
no object. And so that's what we're up against. And so they will throw money around very loosely. And especially when it comes to war, we know how much is typically spent on war. And now you're not buying tanks, you're not buying ammunition, you're not buying military people. You are literally you have all that money to spend, you're going to put it into this. You're going to have people on social media that are influencing people. You're going to put it into propaganda campaigns, all kinds of things. Number 10, train and equip, providing tools, skills. I said khakis because that's what I think of when I think of the feds, or like the Patriot Front, and structure so followers are no longer just angry individuals, but a unified front of disciplined actors capable of carrying out plans. So now you're getting, you're getting activated. Now you've got people, and they're not just sitting behind their computers. Now you're going out and you're getting these groups out into the in front of the world. Number 11, this was the one that was missing. And so I don't know what number 11 is. This is just my guess. Like when I read it through and I'm like, okay, what is missing here? Historically, what takes extremism to actual war. Like, what is it that gets us from point A to point B? Obviously, all of this, making people more and more extreme, dividing them more and more, making it more and more intense, funding it, and giving people something to focus on, where it's like now you've got this unified front of these assholes in khakis that are showing up with their face masks and they're saying racist things. And it's like now we have a visual representation of what it is. So to me, the next step is basically a false flag, some kind of trigger or flashpoint that is the cause that, and historically that is what happens when war starts. There's something that kicks it off, Pearl Harbor or whatever it is. 9/11, there is that instance, that moment where it's like, okay, suddenly our differences, like it's time to spring into action. It's time to actually go to war over this.
Well, I think you're completely right on number 11, because from number 11, it sparks from 1 till 10 all over again, right? And it's amplified then because it triggers it. Like, look at the Charlie Kirk death, right? Now people are divided like really badly about Israel, about who was the shooter, etc., etc. And so now you get all these groups. So even the groups are being divided again in different groups due to a false flag or, a catalyst. So I absolutely think you're right on number 11 there.
Yeah, I mean, whether that's the number 11 that Boone was alluding to or not, I definitely think it's part of it.
Right.
And then number 12 is to start the war, launching open conflict justified by the built up fear and the trigger event, transforming years of psychological manipulation into real bloodshed. I said it's important for us to know and understand these steps so we can arm ourselves against them. Mr. Cutler's most prominent message, this is something he tweeted all the time, was protect your mind, control your emotions. He understood that our emotional reactivity is something that is weaponized against us in order to get us not only on board with war, but to get us warring ourselves.
Right.
He wanted to make us aware so we didn't fall prey to psychological manipulation. So this is how we are being psychologically manipulated. And the reason that I really wanted to cover and talk about this today is because I have been seeing something that I've kind of stayed quiet about for a while because I know I'm going to get shit on for it. But in fact, I've been talking about it with some friends and I almost made a post about it like last week and then I decided against it. But kind of the more I've seen since then, I was like, no, I need to make a post on this. Is that I am seeing all of that we see very clearly with right versus left. Or where somebody stood on COVID or who they voted for. But I am seeing it now with religion. And I think that is not that they are mutually exclusive, not that it's one or the other. I think they're stoking all the flames. But the religious one is one that is very unsettling to me because I see it triggering good people into involving themselves in all of those steps that we just read through, because they are triggering that emotional reactivity. I mean, aside from our families, what are we more emotionally attached to other than our religious or spiritual beliefs or our connection to God? And once somebody starts fighting with us on that, it's very hard not to get triggered. And
True.
when I go on X these days, it's all religious lines in the sand over and over and over again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, of course, there's a spiritual war going on. So just like they do with politics, they do it also with, religions and try to put everybody up against each other. I mean, I get that people are completely against Muslims, whatever. I mean, I have them in my family. I don't see anything wrong with them. I personally don't have a religion, so I don't care either way. But people can be so fanatic about it, like just like with politics, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it always comes down to actions. People can have all kinds of dangerous ideologies. If they're not acting on them, then, whatever. But it's kind of like what the left tried to do with hate speech. It was like or like the lynching laws. These things were already illegal, but they tried to give it an extra layer of, illegality because it was fueled by hate. And it's kind of the same thing with these religious things. Like, ideologies or things like incest, we can all fight against incest. And yeah, there
Yeah.
might be religions out there that include incest. Well, uh, but like you said, there are a lot of archaic beliefs in many of the old religions,
Oh
probably
yeah.
all of them. And people kind of pick and choose. There's something in the Bible where a guy offers up his daughter to get raped or his daughters to get raped instead of these angels. So it's like, are we advocating for our daughters to get raped? Like,
Right.
no, because some people choose to look at things in an extreme way, and some people choose to look at an overall message and adhere to a religion without taking things specifically. So, I think, yeah, certainly if things are being done in the name of religion, it's the action that is the problem.
Right.
Yeah, how are you going out into that world? And what are you doing? And in which case, is it more illegal? Is it more wrong because it's their religion that
Right.
makes them do it? No, just like it's not more wrong to kill somebody because you don't like their skin color. It's
Right.
wrong to kill somebody. It's already all the way, the needle is already all the to the side,
Right.
wrong. This is wrong. And so um most religions, uh I mean, again, like it's not to say that you have to go out and accept all religions and say that they're all equal, but in the spirit of living on a planet where everybody has their own beliefs, and those beliefs come from different personal experiences in life, the way your brain chemistry is set up,
Your upbringing.
your upbringing, your philosophies, whatever it is, those all contribute to what it is you believe. Um, but as long as we're not forcing our beliefs on other people, then what does anybody care what anybody else believes? If it's
Right.
making them do something wrong, then look at the action that they're doing that's wrong. Yes, you can look at also that it came from that. But I see a lot of really broad strokes being painted. And it's not even just about one particular or another. It's basically a lot of people saying, um, whatever. It's just, there's just so much division around
Right.
religion right now.
Well, it's quite ironic also that it says, you should not judge. I think the Bible says that, and yet
Mm.
everybody does. So, um, it's kind of, I find it sometimes hypocritical as well, because many people just don't, you know, live by their own religion then. And that's why I don't do it, because it's too risky for me, because I would be constantly inconsistent.
Mhm.
But many people that are very inconsistent as well with their judgment about others. And my brother actually converted to, I don't even know what Christianity, but some Christianity. He went absolutely extreme in it. And so much so that he would just point at me, "You go to hell because I'm not religious." And I'm like, okay, but what's your problem? Why is it such a problem that I don't believe what you believe? Plus, the Bible is quite cryptic, and and by the way, all these books, religious books, are cryptic. So even the Quran and all the others, right? So anybody can take out of it what they want and what they believe in and stand behind. But then other people do the same with their interpretation. And then you get again different groups, even in there, right? Even
Yeah.
within religion, there are different groups.
Mhm.
And they start arguing about what is right and what is wrong. But at the end of the day, nobody really knows, because it's so cryptic, you can make anything out of it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying there's not a God or Jesus doesn't exist, because I do believe that. Um, yeah, I grew up with Catholicism and
Catholicism.
Catholicism. I went to both churches, Catholic and Reformed, and it was really confusing for me as a child. And I was like, I don't see the point of any of it, right? So, and that's my upbringing, where it comes from. So, in the end, um, yeah, if somebody is brought up with a certain religion by both parents, then obviously they're going to believe all that, right? but it is just like with difference in politics. It is quite um, rampant right now. Although I do understand it's also a spiritual war. So it's logic that people involve their religion within that.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not confused by people getting more religious or more spiritual during this time,
Mm,
finding God, because I absolutely do think that it is a spiritual war. But there's a very big difference between a spiritual war and a religious war. And
right,
when we start talking about religious war, like for example, if it's a war, if it's going to become Christians versus the world,
right,
everyone loses. And if it's any one religion versus the world, everybody loses. It is, fighting evil or fighting darkness or fighting like I said, the actions, what is happening that is wrong. And we stand up united against those things because we are united in our morality and ethics, period. That's all that
right,
matters. Usually that comes, or I'm not going to say usually, I don't know what the statistics are, but many times people are informed of their morality and ethics through their religious beliefs. This is what,
right,
I was told is wrong. And I don't necessarily think people need that. I think that even a child growing up in the middle of the jungle with well, that's not a good example because it is you do have to be taught about the value of humanity and the dignity of humanity, but I think anybody would have an innate sense in things like, okay, killing is wrong. I don't think
right,
anybody would be confused because their religion didn't tell them that killing is wrong. And in fact, there are many atheists that are ethical, moral people. They don't
right,
go around killing people, and it's not because they're afraid they're going to go to hell. They don't even believe in hell.
right,
So, but the conflict to me is when we start, well, there are several things when we start drawing the lines in the sand, and it's very uh everybody obviously believes that that their spiritual belief is the correct one, or they wouldn't believe it.
right,
Well, I guess that's not necessarily true. I do know people that claim a particular religion or spirituality who can't really back it up. It's almost more like, again, something to cling to, something to give them an identity. Um,
right.
and and there's nothing wrong with that. Like some people go to church. I went to this last week. I don't remember, a few days ago or whatever, last Friday or Thursday or whatever it was. I went to do this charity thing with my son. It was a charity that feeds homeless children, and we were packaging the food that goes to these kids. And it was at this local church, and this church is like massive and beautiful, and they do all kinds of cool events. I've been there several times since with my son. They'll have like all the fire trucks and military different vehicles and stuff like that come out, and kids can like go and crawl over. Anyway, it's just a really cool church. And I was thinking to myself, I would like to belong to this church. I would,
Right.
I like the community of that. I like getting dressed up on Sundays and going and being around people and just singing songs and, whatever. So I can see identifying with a religion because you were brought up that way and you like the traditions and you like going to church and you like the community of it, whatever. So I'm not looking down at anybody for identifying with any particular religion for whatever their reason is.
Right.
What I think the problem becomes when we start trying to force it on other people, and when we start dividing ourselves as, okay, this is the only religion that corners the market on being a decent human being, because
Right.
there are decent human beings in every religion.
Well, but this is the thing, right? With all these divisions and labels and, you know, religions, I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to good versus bad. And we all know what is bad, unless you're a psychopath, right? Or
Mhm.
whatever. Um, and also, I see that people are starting to also judge more from their intuition rather than whatever the chaos that is happening around them. And so, I see so many more people now starting a post with, I kind of feel like, right? Or it's not anymore, I'm thinking this or that. I'm feeling like. And so I found this very interesting because It means that people are starting to rely more on their intuition. um, and so then, can you still prove something? No, you can't. But I do think that we all have this inherent strong intuition, whether something is good or bad or right or wrong.
Mhm.
You can just feel it. That's actually a scientific fact. If we want to have to throw it on science, but you know, but it is interesting that how everything has changed just in the past year when it comes to how people view things. But at the same time, yeah, we do get back into those, emotions and conflict, and everything that triggers us, only to then attack with the same labels again. It's like a loop constantly over and over
Exactly.
again.
And yeah, we don't learn our lesson because the second we're triggered, and again, when somebody feels like right now, I mean, you do have in certain areas of the world, certain religions are very oppressed, attacked, killed. Like there are Christians murdered in some parts of the world. They are targeted and murdered for being Christian. And so now these things get amplified. And because if you're trying to divide people by religion, you're going to want, just like the evil people that want every black child to grow up thinking every what person with white skin hates you and
Right.
wants you dead. Like,
Well, but like that's in the West, right? But if you look in, for example, Myanmar, where the Buddhists actually kill Muslims because the what they called again, I can't remember their specific religion, but they are being killed off by literally by Buddhists, and then
you
in
mean the Uyghurs?
China,
The Uyghurs that like in China,
yeah,
yeah.
Ungurs, something like that. And so then in China, you have, the Chinese who went after the Tibetan and the Buddhist. And so literally all over the world, this is happening. It really doesn't matter which religion, but every religion gets attacked in, specific country. And
So
so,
yeah, now that is what I can't remember what number it is. Well, it's number 5, manifesting distrust. Number 6, developing paranoia.
yeah,
Paranoia doesn't necessarily, I mean, paranoia kind of denotes that you are afraid of something in a, uh, in an unmeasured but like these there are real threats. These things are real. It's not to say that they are fake. That kind of thing isn't happening in the United States. It's not happening in different places, but we're still
right,
in fear of it because we're watching these things happen in other countries and we're thinking, okay, Christianity is being attacked
right.
or, whatever it is. So, I wanted to read something my mom had said in the chat. She said, I had a leader of an organization, kind of like Girl Scouts, at about 7, tell me that I was going to burn in hell forever because my parents weren't getting me baptized by full immersion. Using
Right.
religion as a weapon to scare people is wrong. Exactly. I mean, manipulating people. It's one thing to believe in something and believe it with your own heart, like whole heart, and say, I believe that this is the truth. But we always have to be honest about what is the truth versus or what is fact versus what is belief. Because the second you start letting yourself believe that your beliefs are fact and that other people don't have the facts, then when we have to say it, that first of all, there should be nothing wrong with stating a belief as a belief, even if it's the truth. The
Right.
only reason why you need to state it as a fact is to persuade people, which is manipulation.
Right.
So, if something is the truth, you can still say, this is what I believe. I believe what I believe is a fact, but at the same time, I also am not going to argue with anybody over it because I don't know. I'm not
Right.
arrogant enough to believe that I have all the answers. I know what feels right to me.
Well, if there anything, lately I'm more confused than ever before. I mean, literally, I don't even know what
Yeah,
to believe anymore.
yeah.
It's when it comes to politics, it's like, wait a minute, but Trump is siding with an Israel, and but they're committing suicide or genocide. But
Yeah, but
so
Israel
that
is a country.
right, yeah, okay, but fine. But then I can say, okay, but I can believe the Q drops because in the drops they say this and that. But then I can also think, well, maybe they are evil, right? It doesn't really matter which side I choose, but it does get me to be confused. So now with the Charlie Kirk thing, for example, I mean, there are so many theories now on who did it and who possibly where the bullet came from, like so many possibilities that you literally get paranoid and you don't even know any answer anymore because they could all be plausible, right? Even to
Mm.
the point where people say, well, he wasn't killed at all, right? Okay, fine. But it makes you incredibly confused. And what happens when you become confused? You start doubting everything, and that's the point where you mentioned it, right? The paranoia, and it's ramping up more than ever before, because usually I had a direction and I knew what to choose and what I my gut says that I should believe, even though I still don't have the exact answers and I'm 100% sure I'm not. But now it's like, I don't even know which option to choose anymore. So, I'm just letting go and let go and let God, as they
Yeah,
say.
but there is such an important distinction to be made about, I mean, first of all, Israel, I absolutely think that Israel should be criticized
Oh,
for
yeah.
a million different things. But that there's a difference between Israel and the Jewish religion. There's also a
Oh, yeah.
difference between the Jewish religions and Jewish people. So,
And the government.
exactly. So, like, to make all Jewish people guilty for what,
Right.
say, Israel does, or what any, what the Nation of Islam does, and it's like, obviously we know better when it comes to other things. We judge people based on their own actions. We don't make an entire category of people guilty for something.
Right.
I understand that everything gets infiltrated and has factions of evil, the church as well. You could look at I mean, it's not even just factions within the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church itself spent billions of dollars moving priests around so that they could continue to molest children. That
Right.
is a corrupt system. Now, that
Right.
doesn't mean that Catholicism itself, should be targeted, and everybody that's a Catholic, you say, oh, now you're evil because whatever. No, they believe what they believe. The institution is separate. The institution is evil.
Right. True. Absolutely. That is definitely a distinction that needs to be made, because even in Israel, I know people living there, and they say we absolutely hate Netanyahu, right? And so, and they're nice. I mean, they're my friends. So
Well, it's the same as, if people had a problem with Barack Obama and thought he was the Antichrist, and you go somewhere in the world and you're an American and people are like, you're the Antichrist because you're
right.
an American and you have Barack Obama as your president. It's like, no, that there was plenty of criticism within the country for him,
Right.
so it's not fair to do. I mean, I grew up in an area that was primarily Jewish. It's part of the reason that I ended up being a Mossad agent.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, like, this area that I lived in, like, you can't swing a dead cat without, hitting 9 Jewish people, because it was just an area. There are pockets in the world where you have,
Oh,
there
yeah.
are pockets
Where
in.
I live, I mean, Amsterdam was actually Jewish.
Well, I mean, like, every religion. Like, you can go to
Right.
Utah and there are pockets of Mormons. Like, that's just the way that humanity is. But so to tell me that, like, uh, so you're painting Israel as evil, and maybe the country and the government that runs the country is. I'm not saying that they're not. I mean, that's
Right.
absolutely. I think they might be. I think
Right.
many countries might be. I think United States same was evil when certain people were in charge of it, and I think that they were using the United States of America for acts of evil, for acts of, crimes against humanity, against the world.
Right.
Does that mean that Americans are evil? Absolutely not. That does not.
Right.
That is there are two different things. But even to say that the religion itself is evil, like, are you telling me that everybody that I grew up with, all my best friends when I grew up that I grew up with, were secretly hiding that they were private Satan worshipers? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think,
Right.
Satanism and evil, I think it has splintered and it has infiltrated just about every institution that has any
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
influence or power in the world.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, I think this is like, as above, so below. But It's literally in every country and every religion. There is extremism, there is moderates, there is, I mean, I know so many Muslims and they're really, really nice and sweet. And whether it's Jewish, Christian, it doesn't really matter. It's when it becomes used as a tool to divide people. And then people tend to jump on that thing that they believe in so much. So it's kind of a trap at the same time, because, yeah,
Yeah.
it's being
Ohio
used.
Yeah, absolutely. Ohio Kimmy says, I agree, Kate. Governments are the problem, not the people. We didn't have any Jewish people around here, but plenty of Amish and Mennonites. I don't know any Jewish person. I think about that a lot because, not only my exposure to Jewish people, I guess, I literally thought the world was Jewish when I was growing up because I lived
Really?
in, yes, I mean, I literally thought it was the most prominent religion in the world. I thought, I was nothing. My dad was Catholic, my mom was Buddhist, but I knew one other girl that was Christian, and
Wow.
that was it.
Wow.
My
That's
mom
quite, yeah.
my mom likes to tell this story. I think I've told it before. She came to visit or like help out in my kindergarten class. And one of the kids in the class was like, raise your hand if you're Jewish. And my mom said like every hand went up except for me and
Yeah.
my friend Callie, who was the one Christian I knew. And then Callie was like, and so every hand went up other than our two. And then she raised her hand and she was like, now raise your hand if you believe in Lord Jesus Christ, our Savior. And only her little hand went up. And I was like, what is going on? I don't even know who I
But
am right
even
now.
even that, then demographically they even know how to attack and what to attack with. Because, if that's the case where you lived, where there's mostly Jewish, then obviously they're gonna, aim their attacks on that demographic. Because it's so many Jewish people living there. So they're gonna use that against them, or in a way to divide others. And so where I live in Amsterdam, it used to be very much Jewish, but then, World War II came along and all the Jewish were taken. So now it's not Jewish anymore. But it definitely, so every year, for example, all the houses get all the names of the people that lived in these specific houses, which is all Jewish families. And so as a reminder that they were all deported and, sent to the camps. So that's what they do as a memory to remember them by. Um, but yeah, that's another thing that I think. Okay, that was a genocide, fine, but then why is other genocides never remembered for so long? So I have nothing against Jewish. I do have a lot against the the way how one thing is shoved through your throat,
Mm,
whereas the other thing is completely buried as if it never happened. And then I'm like, okay, then there must be an agenda behind it, because why else would they make it so much about the one thing but not about the other, right?
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And at the end of the day, who knows? I don't know. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about that, and I think it's interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning that kind of stuff.
Oh
It might
no.
come across as like insensitive. There's a time and a place for everything, right? You're not gonna but that's kind of besides the point, because it's not, as long as somebody is not shoving their beliefs down your throat,
Right.
we can kind of um it's not to say that you have to like honor every religion. Like I can probably pretty well say I'm never going to become a Muslim based on some of the things that I know
Right.
about the religion. But I remember when all the stuff was happening in our schools where they were having drag queens come in and read to children, and you were getting these books in schools that were um depicting really graphic sex acts and things like that. These were given to the children. The
Right.
Muslim community came out and stood side by side with, everybody else, and they were one of the biggest advocates of getting that stuff out of schools. So
Right.
that is a great example to me of, okay, here's the focus on the goal. Like, this is something that's wrong and we can be united on it. That doesn't mean that we're all going to start going, to each other's church. It means that
Right.
religious beliefs are personal beliefs, until they start getting weaponized, and we start drawing lines in the sand, and we start telling people that they're evil unless they, or they're wrong, or they're whatever, unless they believe these things. Then
Right.
you're going to start creating tensions with people. Then you're going to go back to the list that we were saying before. That creates the threat. It's no longer you believe something and I believe something else. Whereas like when I was growing up, it was, who cared? No, it's no big deal. You believe this, I
Right.
believe that. That's great. Let's go play. Let's go play tetherball.
Right. Like in the 80s, skin color as well was never a problem. And now all of a sudden it seems to be a problem everywhere because,
Exactly.
but that's pushed too. It's, like the crimes, obviously they just show crimes from a particular, group with a different, with a particular color. And so it's just to enhance the hate and the division. But yeah, you're completely right about that. And but then I think, if you can get along on a certain topic, which is absolutely evil, right? Is pushing child porn and all that stuff, then everybody can sit on the same team, right? So then why can't they be on the same team when it's about, I don't know, something else that's not good with the world? But they then insert religion into that in order to make their argument, even though at the end of the day, we're all against genocide. We all don't want people to be killed just randomly. We don't want wars, right? And yet, I see people like, oh, bombard Iran. I mean, those are people too. It doesn't matter what religion they have, they're still people. Oh, bombard everybody in Palestine. Okay, those are people. No, they're Hamas. No, Hamas is just a group that's invented, in order to justify whatever is going on. But and that's the problem, at the end of the day, if somebody say, oh, are you pro-Palestine or anti-Israel? No, I'm just anti-genocide. I'm anti-war. I'm just done with war and violence.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah. I mean, it's
that's
just
what it comes down to. And I think everybody would think the same.
yeah, but except they get manipulated by their emotions through all of these division tactics. Like we were saying,
Right.
you go out in your normal world, I go and I meet up with my son's teachers, or I go to his baseball games and I'm interacting with other parents, or I go to the grocery store and I'm talking to the checkout clerk. Do you know how much it matters to me what their personal religious beliefs are?
No.
Zero. As long as they're not pushing something on my child or doing something inappropriate or whatever it is, zero. That's how much it even
Right.
crosses my mind. It's your actions that I'm looking at. I don't care what your personal beliefs are. Um,
Yeah, and what you're actually saying also is that the whole division is created online mostly because in real life nobody is like that. We don't say the same things we would say behind a keyboard,
mhm,
right? In
exactly.
real life because nobody is that confrontational. Well, I am, but it's different.
It's okay when you do it. Well, I mean, but yeah,
No, you're okay, but I don't have a filter most of the time, so I just do it. But it doesn't make me always any friends. In other moments, it actually does. But because people do like to know where they stand instead of I
yeah,
don't like this. It all depends what subject anyway. But
right.
either way, we don't do that in real life. But yet online, we kind of almost search for these confrontations, or
Mm.
maybe we are manipulated into these. That's not a maybe, that's actually true. We are
It
being
could be
manipulated.
both. It could be
Yeah.
both.
So it's really tricky. And so what would you suggest what people should do about it? Because I get triggered, and then I remove my post because I'm like, oh my god, I really got triggered. That was not good saying that, right?
Mhm.
And so, but I guess everybody does it once in a while. So what do you think how people should go about it and try to
I mean,
find a middle ground?
well, because I mean, I'm not even necessarily a middle ground kind of girl. I don't, I'm actually not a middle ground kind of girl, if I'm being honest. I think that there's right and wrong always. And I don't think
Oh,
if
yeah.
there's right and wrong, that middle ground should be sought. I think you keep advocating for what's right. But that is not that's not beliefs. You're talking about things actually
No.
going on in the world. And when we are like constantly being divided down, divided down, divided down, Ayn Rand had a quote, something to the effect of, she was talking about minorities, like, oh, because at the time they were starting to push like, oh, we have to advocate for these, groups of minorities, these poor minority groups. And she said the smallest minority in the world is the individual, because even if you go in within, that small group that is the minority, you can break them into subdivisions as well, like their
Right.
beliefs or whatever it is. Like, so there's not another Patricia on this planet, there's not another
Yeah.
Kate on this planet. It's human nature to look around and be like, okay, I align with this group of people, we want to belong, we are a species that thrives on society. We want, it's for
Right.
our safety. And so we're constantly looking to seek out our people, right? And
Right.
that's okay as long as you aren't, it doesn't make you dismiss the dignity of another person's human being, like,
Right.
as a human being. We can fight for what's right, we can stand up against what's wrong, and not have it divide us necessarily. I mean, like, it's not to say that you shouldn't judge people, but you
Right.
judge them by their individual character. Like, I can look at somebody with blue hair and roll my eyes, like some people do. I can roll my eyes and be like, oh, it's a liberal, or I'm putting what I believe, their thoughts, their feelings, right? And maybe I'm right about some of it. But at the end of the day, unless that person is doing harm to other human beings, or doing something wrong,
Right.
then, I mean, you're asking what I think that people should do. I think it's clear, we shouldn't be dividing, we shouldn't be dividing ourselves.
Right.
You can
Yeah, we
belong
should.
and not have to be like there and outside.
I think we should embrace our individuality and just distinguish what is good versus bad. But that's a very hard one when it comes to online, being online and seeing all these discussions going on about whatever it is, right? And I do try to find the middle way in a sense that I try to find like what is their motivation to, you know, believe in that or that. And then is it going to disturb me? No, then I move on, right? Um, but
Well,
at the same time, I do think we are involved in this whole thing from a perspective of, we want to save the world, and then it comes down to, are we going to save the world by, bashing people that don't have our same religion or same color or same whatever?
yes, but
No.
every group of people believes that they're the good guy, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Even the, suicide bombers, they
Right.
think they're going straight to God, right? So everybody believes that they are the good guy.
Right.
And um yeah, online it's way easier to manipulate the situation, because you have no idea in most cases who is sitting behind what you're seeing. And so you had
Right.
a bunch of people that saw, and who knows if it was real or not, it probably was mostly inorganic,
Right.
uh racist comments. And so people go out in the world, they're like, okay, MAGA is racist. Or
Right.
they saw things manipulated, they saw things edited in order to make something look racist or whatever. Okay, but when those people went out in the world, in the real world, and interacted with their friends and family and neighbors that were MAGA, they weren't seeing that. Their
Right.
opinion was formed online. And then they take that into the world and they're labeling everyone around. I mean, even people that they know and they have never seen a racist comment come from this person, they happen to see the opposite.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's very easy to form the opinion online and then take that, and then you've got these colored glasses on where now you just see it that way.
Well, yeah, and it becomes also cognitive dissonance, right? Because I have my friend here next door. I mean, we've known each other for 20 years. She knows I like Trump, right? And so as soon as we start a discussion politics, she goes in, "You're a racist because you like Trump." And I'm like, you know me for 20 years. You know I'm not racist. So I'm actually laughing in her face about it, right? And it's just total cognitive dissonance, right? It's amazing how quickly somebody you have in front that you can have dinner with and normal interactions during the day. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the conversation gets to politics, oh my God, all the stuff and aggression that I get to my head is insane because the level that she's being triggered about this is so insane that I'm like, wait a minute, but you know me for 20 years. So you know I'm not racist. You know
Yeah.
not, I'm not a psychopath. And yes, but you like him and this and that. And I'm like, well, um, so it should tell her something about who I am and what she knows about me, but it doesn't. No, it does the exact opposite. And it's incredible how quickly that switching goes to, yeah, what I call cognitive dissonance, because how else do you come with a judgment like that while you've
Mhm.
been my friend for 20 years, right?
It's fear and emotion. Again, like, go
Yeah,
back and read that whole thing all over again. It's not just like, you know, it is psychological manipulation. They have learned how to weaponize our own emotions against us, because if you believe that everybody who does not believe X, Y, or Z like I believe is evil, of
right,
course you're going to fight them. Of course you're going to be awful to them. Of course you're going to justify,
right,
being terrible to them because you think they're evil. Again, everybody thinks that they're the good ones.
right.
Nobody looks around and thinks, am I the baddie? Because they're like, I we know ourselves, we know our intentions, we know our own motives and beliefs. And that was that was something that the left did really well in ways, I mean, in that it was effective, was um they gained the hearts and minds of young people by basically establishing that the conservative viewpoint was heartless. And really, it wasn't a matter of being heartless. It was a matter of having a difference of opinion when it came to the perspective of how to solve problems. And conservatives weren't out there saying, I don't care if, people are dying. They were saying, we do care that people are dying, and this is the way that we see to fix it. And they disagree with the liberals on that, but then the liberals will get you to believe that these people are just evil, they're racist, they don't care about anybody but themselves, they're rich, they only care about their money. And so that was how they made them evil.
Yeah, but I don't think that per se liberals are like a majority. I think it's maybe a 50-50 because obviously the media is a big culprit in this by pushing whatever narrative that we should believe. Whereas when I go on X, I hardly see any liberals. Why? Because, it's kind of an echo chamber. Whoever you follow is the one that you see in your feed.
Yeah.
Unless you go search on the homepage for your topic, whatever it is, then you're going to find them all, right? But I don't see per se a big, you know, uh, like that the group on the left is bigger than on the right. I really don't see that at all. And it doesn't really matter in what country. I don't see that here either with the people I do interact with. It's kind of a 50-50 thing. So, um,
Well,
yeah.
I agree with you in that, and I think that it might have always been that way. And again, they can amplify whatever they want to
Oh,
amplify.
yeah.
And if the media owns, you know,
Yeah,
everything
that's
that
the
we come into
problem.
contact with, they can very easily make it, look like this is the majority viewpoint. But I
Right.
do think that there is truth in that. Um, that a liberal mindset was more prominent in young people than conservatism, because conservatism was something that, I mean, you got people to align with ideologies because their celebrities wore a Bernie Sanders t-shirt,
Right.
or when they go to concerts, Eddie Vedder is getting up there and he's talking about some particular world thing, and everyone's like, oh yeah, well, I love Eddie Vedder, so I'm gonna and he seems like he's a really great guy and a really nice guy. And what he's saying sounds like he's really compassionate and empathetic. So I'm going to agree with him. They're not looking at the nuances like, we were talking about. So I do think that the world is not, uh, a majority on the left. But,
Right.
and you're right, we are so separated into echo chambers that
When even per platform, it depends, right? Whether it's more leaning to the left or leaning to the right, you will see more of that. Like everybody's like, oh, thank God Elon Musk bought X because now we have free speech. Well, is that so? Because now the left all left. They went to, I
Blue
don't
sky,
know, another app, right? Blue
blue
Sky.
sky.
And so they have their own echo chamber over there. So at the end of the day, we don't know, but we're still being fooled by these algorithms that we get in front of us, thinking, we're in the majority.
Well,
And
again, like last week we got that news that they might be bringing certain channels back to YouTube that they had nuked for basically wrongthink
right,
for that time. And I made a post kind of saying like, I would like to get my YouTube channel back. And somebody had said to me like, why would you ever go back there?
right.
But listen, these all of the social media, I don't trust any of the social media.
No,
I think all of it is corrupt. And but this is the digital battlefield. This is where we fight. So we kind of don't have a choice. Again, I'm not all in on Elon Musk. I think that there's a possibility that he's doing, I mean, one thing I will say for certain is it used to be almost impossible to report something on X for child endangerment. Like they buried it with, and you were
right,
sitting there like, I don't even know how to do this. That's one thing that Elon Musk got in and changed right away. Whereas like you
right.
can, if it's a post where it's child endangerment, it is a lot easier. So I'm like, that kind of makes me think that he's not evil. But as far as censorship goes, there's absolutely still censorship on X. None of
Oh
these
yeah,
platforms are perfect, but we have to be able to. I don't want to exist in an echo chamber. I would rather talk
no,
to 5 people who are arguing with me and calling me a bitch, and hope to persuade them to then talk to 3,000 people who are just sitting there nodding in agreement with me because they are already on board.
right,
What good does that do? Like, yeah, rah, rah. I mean, not that it doesn't do any good. It like for us to, we strengthen each other. We talk about things, and that does there is a point and a purpose to that does help. But I do think that it's a shame that we have separated like oil and water, because
right.
how can anything come of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think, like I said last week with the pendulum, it's swinging like really extremely, but eventually it will, you know, get to a balanced state where people are, because I just read this today a few times actually on X. It was like people were so tired of it, like so tired that you get that surrender after the dark night of the soul. You get that surrender. I do think we're heading that way because people are getting so tired of even arguing. I mean,
Mhm.
I really get tired of arguing, right? And then I do believe eventually there's just this surrender where people are like, you know what? I don't give a shit anymore. I just want to I want to be in peace. And it does feel that way. It's being ramped up to that state right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's why that post that Boone made, why I think it's so important for us to, know it, learn it, know it, live it, love it. Because once we understand what it is, I think maybe we use that to go out in the world and ask ourselves every time, am I contributing to that? You
Yes.
know?
Mm.
And is there a way for me to speak my mind and stand up for what I believe in? And the answer is yes, without stepping in shit, without being a part of the problem and dividing. Listen, at the end of the day, there are so many people in this community that I disagree with on all kinds of things. There's
Right.
nobody that I align with fully. I mean, even when you and I get in discussions about, there are things that even you and I are like on
Yeah.
opposite ends of the spectrum on. It doesn't matter. You're my best friend. I love you. And we are aligned in our ethics, our morals, what we want to see in the world.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that's incredible. That's amazing. That is such a bond. And we have that bond with so many of our fellow human beings, and we are throwing it away because they do not have the same label as us.
Right.
When it comes to religion or whatever it is, this is exactly what they want. They want us to divide ourselves between, and you don't have to like the people
Right.
necessarily. There are a lot of people that I kind of think are a little bit scummy, but guess what? I'll still share their posts or when they say something that I like, because when I do that, I'm sharing what it is they said. I'm not advocating for the human being and being like, I want you to
Right.
marry my daughter. Like, same thing with Trump. When people had a lot of issues with Trump, and like, he says things that are brash and whatever, I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm not marrying the guy, I'm not going to bed with him at night. I'm
Right.
advocating for him as a president because he has a specific job to do, and I liked what he's doing for that job.
Well, that's interesting because, it was this week that I reposted something from somebody, and then I checked and I was like, oh, shit, that's a liberal. So if I'm going to repost that, what is everybody going to think? They're going to think I'm a liberal too, because, I actually agreed with what this person said. And I was like, this is freaking crazy. The fact that I have to think about, should I actually do that? Because God knows what the public opinion will be, and one day they're going to actually come after me because, oh, look, she reposted something from a liberal. Therefore, right? It's that freaking insane.
Yeah.
It's the paranoia is real, I have to say. I mean, I never cared, whatever, I just posted. And but then my account obviously is not that big, but say one day I'm gonna have like 200,000 subscribers or followers, right? I hate that word, but yeah. And so then you have to really watch out what you're going to post. I don't want that many followers. I don't, because I don't want to have to think and balance everything out, what I can say and what not, because
You just
if
too
I
much. I mean, don't let what other people's opinions of what you have to say sway you. If,
no, but they can use it against you later on, right?
well, they
And
can use anything against you.
oh yeah,
They
yeah,
can, and if they don't have anything that you've actually said to use against you, they'll manufacture stuff, believe me. So
oh
it
yeah,
doesn't matter. You can't ever bend the knee to the angry mob because it will never work. It doesn't matter. They're going to kill you no matter
right.
what you do.
Yeah, but it's so interesting that me as a person, just being in that online world where I just want to post something, and I that you almost find yourself wanting to check everything to make sure that you're not posting the wrong thing, even though you agree with everything that's being said, right? And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh no, fuck it, I'm just gonna repost it. I don't
Yeah.
care. Like you said, if they want to come after you, they will anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it gets difficult because I came across this account recently that's like the most clickbait. I mean, everything that this person is putting out is clickbait, ridiculous bullshit. And people are eating it up. That's what's really frustrating. It's like, and so those are the kinds of accounts. As soon as I come across that, I mute instantly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to accidentally like come across, and because I think those people are actually doing a huge disservice to the truth. And I don't want to do that. As far as reposting a liberal, or if somebody says something true,
Right.
go ahead and share it. It doesn't matter who it comes from. And in
Right.
fact, that's where we get into the problem, is that, well, I need to go and figure out which box you put yourself in before I'll agree to agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like, I belong to this group. And so if that group sees that I actually repost something of that group, and I'm like, holy crap, I feel like I'm being divided by people. But that's all in my head, right? And at the end of the day, people can do that, but it's up to me what I'm going to do with it. Am I going to stay true to myself, or am I going to try to conform to whichever group, fits, I fit in? And at this point, I'm like, I don't want to fit in any group. I just want to be whoever I am, and and just speak my truth. I found that so important right now, and I think everybody should, because at the end of the day, it's not anymore about left, right, Christian, Catholic, or whatever religion, Muslim, right? It's really not. It's really about good versus bad and evil.
But the problem is, okay, because we can all agree, not maybe all, but a lot of us can probably agree that there is a spiritual war. And
Oh,
but a lot of people take that as, because they're so set in their beliefs, which I'm not knocking, because I'm set in my beliefs too,
right,
but I don't use it against people.
right,
Because what you're seeing is, if you don't subscribe to what this is, then you're on the side of evil and I'm on the side of God.
right.
And so then again, you've got that problem where, okay, how do you move forward from that? How do you move that? This is the problem that we ran into with liberals time and time again, that were telling us because we voted for Trump, because we were conservative, we were racist, bigots, misogynists, whatever. That's the end of the discussion. How can you have a discussion from that point on? So if somebody is saying to you that you're totally wrong in your beliefs, and until you agree with this set of beliefs, you're a them and we're an us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I found that very disturbing lately, to belong to something or someone. And I'd rather don't belong to anything at this point, and just have my own opinion. Um, no matter what. I actually tend to do it on purpose as well, and then check how many people start unfollowing me if I say something. And I literally am playing with this all the time, because I found this a very interesting subject to see where people stand, right? Do you follow somebody just randomly because, oh, friend of my friend, and they're all following her, therefore I'm going to follow her too, right? That kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I don't do that anymore. For a long time, I haven't really never done that per se, because I don't care, and but it is an interesting thing to play with,
Yeah.
socially. I definitely do that a lot. I even throw out certain comments just to see how people react. And now I don't have enough followers in order to actually get an accurate, thing about it. So then I go into other people's comments and just comment something and see what happens.
See, that's the fun thing. That was what was great about Twitter, when we weren't all in echo chamber, that we're separated. And
Right,
like, even now when you comment on stuff like that, your comment can be buried and we're like kept in our own little corrals. But that
right,
was the great thing about Twitter in the
right.
past, was that you could intermingle with people and there were like discussions. You don't see that anymore.
Well, I do have to say, I found it more difficult to distinguish the left from the right these days. Honestly, do you notice the same?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because um I do think that people are starting to wake up from that a little bit.
Right.
And that is good. So that's why I think that the religious aspect is getting pushed even harder now. I mean, I go on Twitter, you guys. If you are not on Twitter, go on Twitter and take a look around and tell me how long it takes you, how many things you scroll past before you get to one of these religious divisive posts.
Right.
It's
Can
everywhere now.
can you give some examples of what's being said?
Um, It's just everything is focused on religion. Once upon a time, I didn't know what anyone, like, everybody leads with their religion. In fact, people put it in their bios
Oh
on
yeah.
X now. And everything, and they'll make a comment that'll just be a comment, and now it's got to come with the Bible verse, or
Oh yeah. Yes.
so, and that's great. People are excited about their religion. They really believe in it. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that it's a piece of it, right? Everything is so
It's kind of like,
focused on religion. Hang on one second, because I'm going to forget what I was going to say, and I think I
okay,
already
sorry.
just did. Frick, because it was going to be an important point that I wanted to bring up 3 times, and now I kept forgetting before I got to it. It was like the crux of everything that I wanted to say in my life. Just kidding. But it was an important point. What were we saying?
You were saying about people having it in their bio, and then
Yeah.
posting with
Oh, okay. I know what I was going to say. To me, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's not like, okay, I don't have a problem with people speaking about, their religions or whatever. Obviously I did a show on my YouTube channel called Human Revolution, where I was talking about Buddhism. And part of the reason that I was doing that, I wasn't trying to convert people. I
right.
wasn't trying to like get them to agree with me or say that I was right. The whole reason I did that show is because it was very clear to me as time went on that people had no idea what it was I believed. because they don't have any exposure to not only Buddhism in general, but there are so many different subsets of Buddhism. So I was just kind of letting people know, like, if they were interested, what it is that I actually believe, because I think it's interesting. A lot of people will argue with me and tell me that I'm wrong about whatever, and
Right.
they really don't know what it is that I believe. So I was doing that for that. But again, like, I kind of kept that separated. But my whole point with this is, if we say that what we're here for is to open minds and bridge gaps and get people in unity and wake them up and whatever, one of the elements of that is not alienating people to begin with. And
Right.
if somebody, I'm going to say that to somebody that is not already a Christian, that can be alienating in and of itself. Like, if I mean, a lot of shows now, just like prayer is a part of the show. And there's obviously a very, like, people are very Christian, and that's awesome. And people deserve to have places to go and they can connect and they talk about these things that are very exciting to them. And that's a beautiful thing. But we
Right.
also need to realize that it can be alienating to the people that don't already agree or aren't already there. Like, if I were to be like, hang on, guys, 1 sec, and pull out a rug and start praying to Allah, I think
Right.
that pretty people could agree, like, okay, well, now I feel a little bit alienated. I feel a little bit like,
Right.
yeah, that's fine. Like, that's your religion. It's not, I'm not offended by it, but I also kind of just don't feel like I belong here anymore. It's a little
Right.
awkward for me. And we have to understand that when we're talking about bridging gaps with people, that, like, maybe try to remind ourselves how we come across, the same way that, as, let's say, as conservatives, we're trying to go out in the world and we're trying to talk to um you know a liberal to get them to agree with us on a certain standpoint. If I'm out there wearing a Trump shirt and a Q hat and like have star spangled makeup, it might make somebody that's a liberal automatically be like, I don't know if I'm going to really listen to what you have to say. Unfortunately, like, that's not right. It's wrong, but it's also the way that the human mind works. And we don't have a lot of people out here that are separating the personal beliefs with, because everybody's like, well, this is the answer, this is the truth. And so I think that there are a lot of people that we might be missing. There are a lot of
Well,
people we might be, like, rejecting.
you just reminded me of something. I don't know if you've noticed how on X it has increased all the symbols somebody put behind their name. So there's
Oh,
the
yes.
Israeli flag,
Yes,
there's the
yes.
American flag, there is Ukraine flag, there is a syringe, then
Yeah.
there is a cross because religious. And so I'm like just
There's
looking at
bumper
the name.
stickers.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you look at these names and you're like, okay, that's a Christian who doesn't like vaccination, or he does. I don't know why the syringe is there, but maybe he does. So, but it's also for Ukraine, which is dumb. That's what I think then, right? That's going on in my mind. And then I'm like, but Israel too. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. Actually, I don't do any of these flags. I don't care. I don't even put my own flag on it because, I don't care. All I care about is really peace and that everybody just shuts up and get along. But that's a bit of a utopia at the moment. So, but if everybody would remove their symbols behind their names, it becomes, because the first thing somebody does, when that's another interesting thing that I never did. It's like if you make a comment, then they're like, oh, but I see in your bio that you wrote this, and that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they first had to go to my bio in order to understand what they want to believe. It's
Mhm.
insane, right?
Well, I
But
mean, yeah, and like, we're reducing ourselves to bumper stickers. Like, it's the online version of a bumper sticker. And it's like, who doesn't drive behind somebody with a coexist bumper sticker or like an I'm with her and automatically have an opinion about them, right? Just like
yes,
people would see a Trump sticker or, an F Joe Biden sticker and have their opinions already. So we're going into this being like, you need to know these things about me. You need to know that I fit in these categories when I
yeah,
say something to you. I mean, it really is an interesting kind of study on human beings and what we all recognized when we went to the boards where everybody was legitimately anonymous, and you
right.
had women, like, they couldn't help themselves but to let everyone know, even though they're supposed to be anonymous, they would tell these stories that would make it clear that they were women
I
because they
couldn't
were not used to not getting special treatment.
Right. Oh, that was insane, especially on the keyboards, because I spent there like for months on end, and literally nobody knew whether I was a woman or a man. And I love that because uh, you're just one of them, and that was all I needed. I didn't want them to treat me different because I'm a woman. And yet, even in bios, because I'm even considering like toning my bio down, because I don't want, I actually am most impressed with those that rather have a quote that is very impressive, because it tells a lot about something what they say in their quote. At the same time, with some of their posts, they actually contradict themselves because of the quote they have in their bio, right? And the same when I get triggered, and then, oh, you're not that spiritual because look what you're just saying, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, good point.
Mhm.
But it's so interesting, and it's so, but it did increase in the past 2 years, probably, or 3 years, all these little symbols. And I'm like, there people posting flags of countries they've never actually visited, just because oh, because I agree with a war over there, so let me plant a flag of Ukraine or Russia, for that matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's idiocy, and it tells a lot about the programming that is going on, because why would you identify yourself with all those things, right? I don't even care if somebody's vaccinated or not. Obviously, we have talked a lot about it at the time when it was really a hot topic. But at the end of the day, people make mistakes.
Mm.
People wake up later and then they did it anyway. Do I want them to die? Hell no, I don't want them to die. You know, um, will they die? No, probably not. Right. And yeah, I mean, even those little things are so influential in how we treat each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, these preconceived notions, like we slap these labels on ourselves willingly. I mean, I do it too. Like I just recently changed my header for my Twitter was Donald Trump that said CAG forever.
Right,
I mean, I was definitely giving people an impression. I mean, still to this day, my profile picture has the Trump pin with the crazy hair on it.
right,
Anybody coming to nobody's going to be like, oh, who is this mysterious girl? They're going to instantly have me, labeled from the second they go to my profile and whatever. The part of the reason I did that initially and why I even came out initially is because I was a raging conspiracy theorist and I was a Trump supporter, and I fully, wrongly or not, believed that the people that already followed me, because I already had a pretty decent following, that hated Trump and thought everybody that voted for him or was going to vote for him was a racist, would see me in a MAGA hat or see me supporting these things or talking about these conspiracies. And then instead of having this preconceived notion of a dude in his parents' basement with like Doritos on his chest, they'd be like, well, I know Kate. I followed her through her struggles with infertility. She shared
right,
pictures of her kids or her kid, and I know how she feels about certain things. And she seems like a decent human being. Maybe they're not all crazy. Maybe they're not all
right,
racist. So I thought I was, you know, doing something good by putting my name and my face out there and being like, whatever. But I have had to kind of rethink like my uh, how I label myself and how I
That's
am like, is it more important to me to stick myself in a box and be like, I'm right and you're wrong? Or is it more important to me to maybe find what we can align with and work together towards the important stuff?
right. Yeah, definitely. I see Christina Love. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I need to say hi to her because I haven't seen her in what, like years?
Christina?
Christina Love.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh. Hi, Christina. Aw.
yes. Good to see you. She's in my YouTube. Anyway, yeah, but definitely, this is a thing that, because you still believe all those things, but the question is, do you still want to be, just because it triggers people, period. So if you want to really make peace with people and have conversations properly, why should we unnecessarily, um, you know, make them be triggered just by, I don't know, a flag or a symbol that we have in our bio. And now obviously they can still see it by our posts that we post about, but you know, it's just that it's so instant these days, and it's all set up to already have a preconceived judgment about somebody as soon as you see a certain flag, a certain symbol, a certain text that is in their bio. um, and that makes it already an obstacle in order to come together, I guess,
Mhm.
because nobody's immune to being triggered, I think.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. And in a way, maybe our people are looking for their people. Maybe they are looking online for the people that they align with on these particular things. And that's fine. But we are missing an opportunity to um connect with other human beings by just being a human being ourselves when we
Right.
are voluntarily labeling ourselves and going out into the world. um we don't People aren't going to give us a chance. Some people that you might have reached might not even give you a chance now because you've already put this label on yourself before you even begin.
Right.
um and
Yeah.
so it just is not, it's a shame, kind of. We're missing an opportunity to reach more
True.
people.
Yeah, we do have to actually look to ourselves, like what are we doing, right, in order to block any progress within, the division of discussion or people or groups, because
Mhm.
it's so easy that you don't even notice it, you know, until I thought about it. And I was like, yeah, this is, it's, we're not helping the cause. Let's put it that way, right?
Mhm.
Would be a nice challenge to tell everybody, okay, remove all the little icons and emojis and whatnot that you have, your labels and everything out of your behind your name and in your bio, and see how people will approach you and your discussion, right? Because
Right.
the other side of it is somebody has 2 followers and you're like, okay, bot. Right?
Exactly, but, like, exactly.
They could have been new members. They never get anywhere because, everybody calls him a bot.
Well, and, exactly, that's very frustrating. In the same vein, um, a lot of people will have it weaponized against them that they once upon a time were liberals. People
Oh,
will
yeah.
dig into their past and be like, "Well, you were a clear liberal." Well, isn't that what we're trying to achieve? Aren't we trying to get people to change their perspectives
Right.
and not label themselves like that anymore? My mom says, "Do we want to get enough people to vote for good, i.e., anti-abortion, or should they be excluded if they don't have the right religious label? Let the afterlife sort itself out individually, um, and don't make us live under the worst evils."
Right.
It's a great point. Exactly. I actually said that when I was on Joe Rambo's show the other day, I think, or weeks ago, whatever it was. I was saying, what's more important to us, to be right and to die right, or to be able to bridge gaps
Right.
and persuade other people to join us so that we don't have to live under evil while we're here?
Right.
You can still be right and still also be um, unite with other people on what matters, because at the end of the day, your personal beliefs only matter to you, unless you belong to some religion that believes that you need to meet a certain quota in order to get into the gates of heaven because you recruited so many people, to come with you.
Right.
I don't see why people are um they are
Well,
divisive about it.
because I'm looking at my own profile and I see, like, okay, um, autistic truther. Yeah, I'm a truther. I'm autistic. That's true. But do I know the truth? No, not really. Am I observer? I'm definitely an observer. I'm a multilingualist. That's correct. And bridging gaps. Well, sometimes I get so triggered. I'm anything but somebody's bridging gaps,
You're a
right?
builder and a nuker.
So I every now and then I'm looking at my own bio and I'm like, yeah, that's not completely correct. And even people actually point this out and they say, oh, you bitch, look at your own profile. You don't even you're not like somebody that's connecting people or bridging gaps. You're here to divide. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Right.
I
And
mean,
I'm laughing about it now, but it's the reality, right? It's that we all get triggered at one point or another. So I'm definitely considering removing a lot of my bio right now because, it does start with yourself.
unfortunately, that's the truth. I can't tell you how many things I type out and delete. So I'm like that meme of that cat angrily typing. That's me at first. I
that
let
one,
myself do that. And
that
there
one
is
has
something
gone through
cathartic.
my mind the whole week. I was,
I will do that. And then I'll be like, okay, take a chill pill for a second. I will hit delete. I will rewrite it. I will sometimes rewrite things 3 or 4 times before I hit send on them. And I will,
right.
not that I always get it perfectly now, but I used to be an arguer. And not that I don't argue anymore. It's not that I'm some pacifist who's just like, that's okay. Let's all get along now. No, I actually advocate the shit out of things, but I try to be as careful as possible to not, um, be inflammatory with the things that I say, because
Right.
at the end of the day, am I stroking my own ego or am I trying
Right.
to make a difference? And I'm
Yeah, I
trying to
put
make a difference.
myself there too. Absolutely. And also with the thought, like, would I want to be treated that way? And then I'm thinking, no, I don't want that either. So why would I do that? So, in that sense, and sure, there's a lot of ego involved. You do get triggered with your ego in that. That's definitely a thing as well. But I'm way more careful as well. Or when I do something impulsive, I do delete it as well. So because but then the internet is forever. So but and that makes it so difficult as well. What is truth? Because at the end of the day, everybody starts digging in a person, for example. They find anything. And then I'm thinking, yeah, but 10 years ago, I thought completely different than I do today. So, yes, people can attack me on that today, but is it still truth? No, and
Mhm.
so it's getting trickier and trickier in order to win a battle of truth. Because is there really what is truth? And this is what I'm getting more confused about lately is the further along we get, the more I realize I don't know shit,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and that's, the humbling. The humbling
Oh yeah.
is kind of what helps me, because I've made so many mistakes, because I've been so arrogant about things that I believed were the facts and the truth, and then ended up being wrong and had egg on my face
Yes.
time after time after time after time, that eventually you grow up a little bit and you're like, okay, shit, I really, really believe this, but do I know for a fact that this is true? And if not, should I be a little bit more tempered with how I present it? And it's a conditioning. It's a muscle that we have to learn how to flex, because we again, if you're trying to convince somebody and you're trying to persuade them, and you put one little nugget in there of something that you say is a fact and they can disprove it, you've lost them. You've
Right.
lost them on every other true thing that you may have said.
Yeah.
So is it worth it? or or is it more important um to be precise in our words when it comes to what is a belief versus what is a fact?
Right.
And um so, because again, it goes back to, I was stating things as fact. Like when I was even talking to my mother when I first woke up about some of the atrocities in the world, I was stating some things that I really, really believe, like things that I saw evidence of, that it really, really seems like these things are true, but I don't know them for a fact. I went to my mom and I was
Right.
like, because I was crazed about it. No, no, this is a fact. This is, but I was, in a way, that's manipulation. I
Yeah.
wanted her to believe it so bad that I was like, no, listen, it's known. And she'd be like, no, but like, how do you know that? Where did you derive that from? I'm like, well, it's because I was trying to manipulate her into agreeing with me, that I was
Right.
stating things as fact when they weren't.
Yeah, and two things can be right at the same time is another thing that I discovered over time being in that. And I'm thinking, yeah, it all depends of your perspective. Everything can be true, right?
Mm,
Well, more or less, right? Obviously. But yeah, that's definitely if we're gonna put it like in a dark night of soul kind of sense, I do think that we're going to a collective ego trip as well. I think we got the worst part of that. By the way, I'm thinking we're getting over that right now.
mhm.
But yeah, the pendulum is still swinging quite, r- you know, aggressively, and but eventually we're going to get towards the surrender and get out of that dark night, the collective dark night of the soul, so to speak, which is which is a way longer process than when you go through a dark night
Mhm.
as an individual,
Yeah.
right? Because there's so many individuals that are involved in this, and so many beliefs and divisions, and then on top of that, you know, um, it's being manipulated in that direction as well. So I do eventually that people will come to this surrender part.
Yeah. I agree. Right now we're fighting the tribalism in the collective dark night of the soul. This
Right.
need to belong to tribes and advocate for our tribes, but we are doing ourselves a disservice if the goal is to sway other people to align with us and unify. Because if
Right.
we aren't unified, then we're in big trouble. This is
Absolutely.
we've seen how this works against us.
Well, we should question ourselves why we need to belong to a tribe to begin with, because at the end of the day, that is also about fear, right? And but what's so wrong about being an individual, you know? Um, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to just primal psychology. It is the desire to belong so that because it's a threat when you don't, when you're an outsider. We need other people for survival. And so there is something innate about tribalism. But just like we have a lot of primitive desires, beliefs, fears, etc., that we have to learn to temper in order to have, you know, in order to be a dignified human being that's accomplishing something. So we also need to learn how to temper our desire for tribalism in some ways.
right.
Y-
Yeah, definitely. You know, I like what Christina says here. Everyone has their own version of their reality. We are all on a different wavelength. It's true, but like collectively, we have different groups on different wavelengths and different realities, but eventually it all must, what goes up must come down. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that there because we're in such an echo chamber right now that people have lost a little bit of their ability to see how they come across.
Right.
And because they're so used to being around people that agree with them, they don't realize how irresponsible it is to shove your beliefs down other people's throats. And it's not to say that what you believe is not the truth. It very well could be, but it is still a belief. And that is what I come back to at the end of the day. You will never see me doing to other people what happens to me literally almost on a daily basis. It's literally happening to me right now.
Right.
Which is people saying, no, no, you're wrong. This is the truth.
Yeah.
And you don't have the truth. You don't agree with the truth. I would never do that to another person.
Right.
I just wouldn't. And I fully believe in what I believe in, but I'm also not arrogant enough to think that I couldn't be wrong. I could
Right.
very well be wrong. I don't know. I know what it is that feels right to me, and I don't like hypocrisy. I like to be able to defend um, philosophically what it is I believe in. I know there are a lot of people like they believe what they believe just because they feel it in their heart, and they might not be able to have a discussion with you about it to defend it, but they just know that they believe that in their heart. And I get that because there is an intuitive
Right.
knowing about things. But maybe there are different things for different people. I mean, trust me, I have tried to have that intuition about certain beliefs because there were people pushing it on me so hard that I really thought that I had to believe. I mean, in a way, there's a very fearful part of me that looks around and thinks that th- something is happening that scares me, which is
Right.
that people are so convinced that they are right, that they are uh, being harmful with it, that
Right.
they are actually doing harm. They think that the ends justifying the means. They are doing things that they know would be wrong in any other arena, but in this arena, they will allow themselves because they believe something so much in their heart that they will do that.
Well, if you say that you, and I do too, I noticed this with myself, that, wait a minute, I don't want to be hypocritical. So if I don't want to push it on somebody else, I don't want to have it pushed on me, I'm not going to push it on somebody else. And so you think the same thing. So do you think that a lot of people are starting to think this as well? Because I do believe more and more people, obviously there's these extremes, these people that get really aggressive, don't count them in, but the majority of people are starting to figure this out as well. It's not about trying to shove truth anymore through people's throats, because you don't want it either, right? And you do get to the truth, whatever that is, right, when the time comes and when it needs to be. I do believe there is a divine timing for everything anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do unto others, right?
Yeah.
We know how to live that way in just about every other way, shape, and form. I don't know if it's. I mean, I know that there's a lot of fear surrounding some religious beliefs, and I don't know if it's like a fear that if they don't push it, or if maybe they do it because they care about other people, and they're like, well, if I don't let them know this particular thing and I don't get them to agree with me, they're going to end up going to hell, or bad things are going
Right.
to happen to them or whatever. So I know that it's not um that it can come from a really good place, but it doesn't mean that the method is correct.
Right.
The method is never correct when we are stating opinion as fact, ever. It doesn't matter if you're right. Like, for example, I can go in and get in an argument about COVID with somebody who is an absolute believer in the official narrative of COVID. And if I sit there and I state things as a fact that I actually don't know, say stuff in the medical world, to
Right.
back up my claims, that's not the right thing to do.
Right.
Are you getting an echo
Yeah.
for me?
What?
Are you getting an echo for me? I was just getting an echo for me. I'm not getting it anymore. Never mind.
No.
Hmm.
No, but yeah, you're right. It's also about projection, right? Because I remember when I tried red pilling everybody constantly, like we all did, right? And I don't feel the need for that anymore. It's also because there's so much out there right now. In fact, I'm actually at a point that I don't even know anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Right?
not linear. It's not linear. You will go
No.
back and forth on things. So,
Right. I mean, really, that's a very interesting observation that I don't even know what the truth is anymore. And a kind of it's liberating too, in a way, because you're in this space where anything can be true. And so you become more open, and open-minded about everything. Whereas even if we did believe before, politically or Q wise or whatnot, that, that's the truth and that's everything, in a way, we're still closed off as well.
yeah. Yeah. I
So,
don't know.
yeah, I kind of like my doubt state right now.
It's a little bit liberating, right? To just be like, I really don't know. At some point, I think you kind of you do arrive there because of it's almost like getting your sea legs.
Right.
Somebody that has their sea legs isn't like digging in so much to their ground, because they have to learn how to be a little bit like flexible, malleable, whatever. Because like everything that we're learning about is coming, is the source a lie? Are the people filtering it down a lie? It's really, really hard to have discernment at this point. So,
yeah, the only thing I really get pissed off with still is injustice, right? When it comes to
uh-oh.
injustice, I just can't stand that. Sorry, I just have to react. But when it comes to truth, then I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Because I don't know. I don't have the answer. I
I
literally don't.
I don't know if it's still happening. My internet went out, I think, and so I missed that whole last thing that you said.
Oh, I said that, when it comes to injustice, then I get really pissed off and opinionated and emotional
Mm,
about it.
mhm.
So, because I don't like injustice and meanness. But when it comes to truth, I literally don't care. I don't get all that, triggered about it anymore because I literally don't know the truth, and that's a good thing. So it relaxes me, and I feel more freedom. And then I'm thinking, okay, do I want to control what's going on in the world? I can't. I
Mhm.
literally can't. So I may as well let it go. Do I want to know everything is going on in my country about politics? I literally don't care because I live here. And if I do know, and this is willingly being ignorant about it, is if I do know, I get stressed about it. Why? Because I live here, and things are going to happen anyway the way they're going to. It's not like I can make a big difference in how I see or believe things.
Right.
It's still going to be the same. So obviously I do keep a side eye on what's going on, but I do not get immersed in it because it really would frustrate me a lot. And then I want to try to control situations that I can't even control.
Mhm.
And, let alone on a global level, doing
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there does reach a point where a lot of people will like kind of wish that they could go back and take the blue pill instead. And because there's no going back to
Ignorance is
sleep eventually.
bliss.
Yeah, exactly. But it's exhausting once you're awake and you're seeing it, because um there is no solid truth to grasp right now as
Right.
far as what's going on in our world. We don't know um for certain that what we're seeing in the news is actually happening. And so we get enraged by what we see and we want to stick up for justice. And at the end of the day, we have to say to ourselves, is that war that they're depicting really how they're depicting it? Is it's that's exhausting.
It
So,
is. Well, actually, it's interesting because when I talked in another show about, that we have a house that we keep together, like with whatever repairs, and I think in a collective way worldwide we're in that same state where the whole house needs to burn down in order to rebuild it.
mm,
And I don't know exactly which stage we're in, but if the whole house needs to burn down, then so be it, right? I mean, it happened in my personal life. So I guess on a collective scale, I think the same would happen. Um, if you come from the dark night of the soul kind of thing, because, with all the things going on in the world, and that, we call the awakening. Yeah, we wake up to what is going on, but now we're like, do we really know what's going on? We know a little bit, but do we know the truth about it? No, we don't. So eventually we getting at this, how do you say that, this,
crossroads.
yeah, this crossroads where you're like, okay, I better just surrender to it, whatever goes on. I don't know, are we going to be controlled by, a digital currency and passport and all that stuff? Maybe, and maybe not, I don't know. But should I
Well,
lie awake about it? And I'm like, it doesn't matter.
I mean, like it's not that these things don't matter, and it's not that, we need to go back to sleep. Obviously, that's not what you're saying at all. We At the end of the day, there's only so much we can do, and we only have control over ourselves. And we can continue to speak what we believe to be the truth as long as we are doing it in a reasonable and responsible manner. But we shouldn't ever downplay how important it is for us to have control over ourselves, to be the change that we want to see in the world, right? To, as long as you are being a decent human being, you're not going out there and harming other people. You're not lying. You're not lying by omission. You're not, doing bad things, and you are standing up for other people, and you are being kind, and you are operating with empathy, and you are being responsible and taking care of the things that you need to take care of. At
Right.
the end of the day, we can fight about all of the other stuff and what's going on. This is what I know I have control over, and that's what you have control over. And if everybody did that, what would the world look like?
Yeah, it would be completely different. But I do think we will get to that because people get tired of it. And we do have to face ourselves as well, right? And be honest with ourselves. Like, am I still honest to myself? Am I still, believe in what I used to believe in? Or do I literally have the answers? No, I don't. I don't, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
mean, 2 years ago, I thought I had the answers, but I don't.
You know what? Shoot, I would, so that is honest. I would listen to somebody like you every day. When somebody tells me that they know the truth, or somebody tells me that they have inside sources, it
Right.
makes it now, like, once upon a time I used to fall for it. I'd be like, "Oh, well, these
Right.
are the people that know," but nobody knows. Like, not even the pundits that are out there uh covering these. I mean, they might have better insights. Almost all of them have better insights than I do. So they're worth listening to here and there, but I don't believe them wholeheartedly because I know that they don't have the answers either.
No. No, also because we are in a collective and anything can happen. We are in a war, literally. And so everything can change by the day. And that's what I see right now is how things change by the day. And because of that, I started doubting myself. And then I'm like, you know what? I just don't know it. And tomorrow can be different. But I'm not going to be that outspoken about what I believe in anymore, except for just or injustice or justice, right? Because that's about good and bad, or what I deem to be good or bad, right? Even
Mhm.
there are differences within individuals.
Yeah.
Subtle differences, obviously, but the most obvious ones is like, for example, when it comes to, who shot Charlie Kirk, nobody, those that you would think that would matter about it, that would worry about it, or that want to know, they don't question it. And I'm like, well, we're not dumb, and things just don't add up to me. So I just want to know what's going on and why things are not adding up, and why those that need to speak up are not speaking up. And
Well,
do I have the answer? I don't. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, I mean, I think that there could be many things going on. I mean, the world just watched this man get slaughtered
right?
on live TV. There's a grieving process that has to happen that we seem to have just skipped right over. And not everybody knew him personally. Not everybody
Yeah,
had a connection to him. So not everybody has to go through that grieving process. But I definitely think that there might be people out there that, the worst time to make draw lines in the sand or try to come to conclusions is when you are feeling emotional about something. And this is
right.
a very emotional thing. So there might be people that are not, you know, speaking up about some of the things that they see just based on that. At the end of the day, yeah, I know we need to ask questions, but um, I don't know.
Well,
That's a
yeah,
whole
I
other.
think, we can either do what happened with JFK, where nobody asked questions. And once they did ask questions, it was kind of too late because it was already in Pandora's box. And so now, are we going to wait till it's, covered up? Or are we going to, um, forge the iron while it's hot? That's how we call that in Dutch.
I like it. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's so many things that just, no matter how many people are out there questioning the narrative, never really get answered until we are given the answers. Like, yes, we can point to all of the different anomalies and things and how things look to us. But I think people are at a point of exhaustion knowing that, even when we're out there making all of these claims and asking these questions, it still isn't a guarantee that we're going to get to the truth. And I think right now we're dealing with a population of people that are traumatized and burnout.
And maybe we don't even need the truth. If you come to think about it, like, what's more important? What did this murder accomplish in the collective?
Mm.
And that's what I found really interesting. There's a big change in that. A lot of people, that have different beliefs, other people start going to church, so there's a lot of changes going on just because somebody is murdered. And
Yeah.
maybe that's exactly what the answer is. Maybe it's not about finding the culprit. Maybe it had to happen because, I don't know, it's a catalyst for change again.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard for me to believe that good people would traumatize human beings. Again, it
Yeah,
goes back to it is never okay to do the wrong thing, even for the right reasons,
right,
period. And even if I don't think that we can I don't know, like, I don't think that it's okay to do the wrong thing for the right reasons. I don't think that exists. And,
right,
um, I think that those are the things that we should be debating because we can't really debate the facts on things when we don't have access. We're not, in the coroner's office. We're not, embalming the body ourselves. We weren't all eyewitnesses as far as being there. We have
right,
selective views of things like that. Um, and really, the only thing that I think that is worthwhile to debate with other human beings on are morality and ethics.
right,
That's where we need to come together and
true,
unify right versus wrong, because a lot of these things we're kind of at the mercy of what we don't know. But we can, um, debate on right versus wrong.
right,
And at the end of the day, the same thing. It goes back to who we are as human beings. What is it? We all want to be decent human beings, right? Good human beings. Most of us. I won't speak for everybody, but most of us, we our goal is to be good. And
right,
so we're figuring out what that looks like. I think most of us will agree on what that looks like. And some of these other nuanced things that we get in the mud arguing over, that we can't settle at the end of the day because there's no tests that we can take that will prove it one way or another, then is it really the best expenditure of time to be arguing about those things?
right. I do think though that because we woke up and we did all the digging in truth, that we got exposed to so many nefarious things that we do get absolutely paranoid as well about, for example, who's gonna, take Charlie's place. Okay, fine. Oh, but that one is a Zionist, but this one is it. And then we don't want that to happen again. We don't want it to infiltrate again, right? So that is ramping up as well because of this. And I noticed that, I look into it and I'm like, why would we have our youth, or American youth in this case, being influenced by the wrong people that's going to take their seat because it's another opportunity, right? And and that is a consequence of having been through this whole truth movement where you find all these nefarious um, schemes and agendas that have been going on for so many centuries, that now everything becomes very precarious in what we
Mhm.
want and choose to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it takes all kinds. Like, secretly, I might be actually kind of glad that there are people out there pushing things that I wouldn't necessarily push myself.
Why?
I, you know, I I tend to be where I am due to my perspective, and where I am is no longer in a place of, um, posting my every suspicion to point
Right.
it out to others. But I am glad that there are people that still do that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. For me, the perspective is more justice versus injustice, and also maybe a fear that we're going into the wrong direction. But then again, I cannot control that, right? And once I do understand that I cannot control it, I'm very much easier to let it go.
mhm,
Um, but it's a constant battle, daily battle, even. And I believe I'm not the only one in that. It's just that
yeah.
in this case we're talking about it and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, we do have a lot, we should have a lot of reflection about this.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the growth and change that we are experiencing as a human being. Are you getting better? Are you facing the light more? Are you getting closer to God? Are you um, being a better person? And we have these things that crumble, including our own lives, in order to challenge us to do better and to be better. And it happens on a global scale. I do think humanity comes out of this better for what we've been
Oh yeah.
through. Even though a lot of it was our own fault to begin with for trusting systems and getting lazy and getting complacent. But this is the lesson for that. These are the growing pains of learning how to be strong again and to not rely on others and to not, sit here and be a groupie again.
Right.
Like we got
Yeah.
into this because we were groupies. We were like, oh, we listen to these people. I'm a Fox News listener. I'm a this listener or whatever. And letting these people do our thinking for us. And then come to find out they've all forsaken you. So there's something kind of freeing in that realizing that you are on your own. Freedom and responsibility are intrinsically connected. You cannot
Yeah.
have freedom without personal responsibility. You have to be responsible for yourself. We gave up those freedoms under the illusion, under the guise of having safety and comfort. And by the way, safety does not really exist. You're never really fully protected no matter what. So, it was just an illusion, but we want to be comfortable. We want mommy and daddy to take care of us forever. We let our governments become our mommy and daddy and tell us what to
Right.
think and what to do, and they're going to protect us. And now we're starting to learn that, like, even Tylenol sitting on the shelves was out here harming people. We're told that this is one of the safest medicine, and they're not calling attention to the fact that hundreds of people die every year just from taking Tylenol, and that it
Right.
might be connected to autism and other problems with children in the womb and all of this stuff, because we believe that if it's in our shelves, that it must be safe, because they're not evil. They
Right.
would never do that to us.
Yeah, but that's it, right? Even the whole Great Awakening thing is one wave of Dark Night of the Souls, because, it starts with when you wake up and then you go through that and you understand that there's so much evil in the world. And then you start to, become more moderate about everything, um, even if they're horrible. But then at the same time, you go through this new wave again. And it's exactly the same as the individual path through the Dark Night of the Soul, really. And the Tylenol thing is another one, right? Is like another blow that you get, and think to yourself, oh, did I have that? Did I give my children that? Right? It's just never ending, really.
And shit, that's not pretty, right? If there are going to be parents that are, I mean, there might be parents now that are grappling with that, and that is horrific, and it's not their fault. They didn't know any better, and this was the system that we were all raised in. And they were up against a lot, but it's not it's not a pretty process. I think a lot about the medical industry in general, and
Yeah.
certain things about cancer, and people finding out that there have been cures that have existed for decades that have been kept from us intentionally. And this isn't like oh man, we all look around, we're like, well, that really sucks. Okay, well, this is great because now we know it and we can get on track. Think about the trauma that people are going to have to deal with after losing loved ones to
Oh
cancer.
yeah. Yeah, but it's when I thought about before, when we just woke up and like, oh my God, if people figure out what's going on for real, they're gonna go, ballistic about it. But now more and more stuff is coming out. Yeah, people going ballistic on it for 2 days, and then the new thing comes along. So
Mm.
the reaction of people is a lot less dramatic than I thought it would be these days, because it's so much. It's even to the point like, really, does it matter? Because all our foods are poisoned already. Our air is poisoned. Everything is freaking poisoned. Our medical system is, in shambles. In fact, it was never anything to begin with. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's literally we are navigating death.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
we're avoiding death, literally.
Yes.
you
I
know?
know. Well, I mean, no wonder we're exhausted. No wonder, but we're making headway. We are. People are waking
Right,
up. I mean, yeah, those headlines might just be in front of our faces for a couple days because we are kind of in the information. We're right there, like paying attention to things every day. But I think your
right.
average person, that sticks with them. They remember that, especially if they're a parent. They are. It's
Yeah,
gonna.
but I can also see now why a lot of people turn to religion, because what is there left if you're
Mm.
dodging bullets all day long?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Because that's faith. That should unify us, whether or not all the nuances of what it is you believe in particular. It's what makes us human. Is that longing to know what is
Right.
out there, where we came from, where we're going. Is there a higher power? And we might have different conclusions. In fact, we all do. Like we were saying, there's no other Patricia. There's no other Kate. You can just dissect people and find that no two people probably on this planet have the exact same beliefs and the way that they
Right.
look at things, but we're all seeking that, we're all searching for that, and as long as whatever you're finding is giving you a reason to be a better person and to feel uplifted, to feel hopeful, to have faith in something bigger, um, then I think that's the purpose. And I do think that there's something beautiful about people finding religion, finding God, finding spirituality of whatever it is, as long as it is making them a better person. I don't care what you
Yeah.
label it.
Well, the next gauntlet is going to be when they start talking aliens. It's going to be a freaking new fest. It's
Exactly. Well, it's interesting. Who was it? Was it Reagan? I think was it Reagan who said that like if aliens landed, suddenly all of our differences on Earth would
Oh,
become
right. Yes, absolutely. I do believe that would happen. Although there's a lot of people awake to it already, but those that are absolutely, thinking, well, maybe it's the devil or whatnot. I mean, that's yeah. Yeah, it
yeah,
was Reagan. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, I
I
remember
mean,
that as well. But yeah, that would definitely be happening. I mean, I would be surprised that Trump maybe one day comes out and just, you know, throw that out there.
it's just so funny because at this point, I mean, if that would have happened 6 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, I mean, everybody would have been besides themselves. Now, I feel like everyone would be like, "Okay, well,
Thank God.
yeah, that and what's next?" Because it's not as big of a deal as it would have been a long time ago because I think, number one, there's been kind of a slow trickle. They've been kind of slowly warming
Right,
us up to the idea of alien life. I mean, they literally have come out and said that certain craft were back engineered and that these were not, this was from off planet. This is not human technology. I mean, like, what do you think they're saying in those things?
right.
On top of telling us like, oh, there's, plankton on Mars or whatever the shit. But these things, it's kind of this soft disclosure kind of trickling out to prep the human psyche. And I can kind of see that because what were we told with, I mean, everything that's been put in our faces since at least the 80s with aliens is that they're coming to, eat us and,
Right.
enslave the human race or devour us.
Well, remember in the 70s, was it, I believe, where people would sit on a mountain and just sit there and hope Jesus would come and save them? I
Yeah,
mean, you know that was a whole thing at the time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was like whole groups of people would sit on a mountain, just wait because today the day comes that Jesus comes. And I'm like, At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. And indeed, Christina, she said, she's quoting Reagan. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. Yeah, that's how
Thank you,
Reagan said it.
Christina.
Thank you.
And I mean, that really is brilliant. And again, it takes us kind of full circle back to the beginning of dividing ourselves into these boxes. Now, all of a sudden, we have like octopus beings that land on our planet. We're all going to be looking into people no matter what. We're going to say, we're going to think to ourselves,
You're gay.
we felt different because we had different skin colors. And like, here this thing is with 11 eyes. I mean, but it does. It's good to think about stuff like that because it puts it into perspective how dumb this stuff is. It's like, what we tell people, what we tell children, as far as feeling different because of somebody's eye color. What am I missing?
With 11 eyes. It's just so funny.
I thought I was
I'm just
missing something.
picturing it, right? And then I just picture the faces of everybody. It's like, oh yeah, you're gay. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right. And then again, like if we lived in the Star Wars universe where we had Wookiees and Ewoks and
Right.
Bib Fortuna with his brains wrapped around his body. Exactly. It's like it starts to
Yeah.
it starts to become a little bit clearer how ridiculous it is that we are separating ourselves into these boxes.
Maybe it should actually happen very soon because, I mean, wouldn't that be sobering for everybody?
Yes. Once they wash their pants. No, I mean, I go back and forth because to me, what I see is like we have this. I don't know. I keep saying it this way, and I wish I had a better way to put it, but we have this desire to be groupies as human beings. Like I worry that there are going to be people out there that if aliens landed on our planet that would start worshiping them, because
you have that meme right now where people actually begging the alien breed of duck meat. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's a huge amount of control over people that comes with something like alien disclosure, because again, emotional reactivity, which is what they can use against people. I mean, what's going to be more emotional than seeing aliens for the first time?
Right.
So
yeah, I definitely would think that, like, take me. I love you, please. There's hope.
Rose Thistle says, aren't Wookiees Bigfoot? I think they might be. And I actually, I mean, I believe in all kinds of weird stuff, but I believe in Bigfoot. I believe in Sasquatch.
Well, actually, I found it interesting that Trump came with this Amelia Earhart thing, right? And I'm like, okay, so wait a minute, they covered that up. What's covered up then? Because I mean, so many people have vanished. So apparently, there is more to it than that she just vanished. So maybe was she picked up by aliens, or maybe is that like, I don't know, did she go into the inner earth? Who knows, right? But I wonder why he's dropping this right now.
Exactly. And he said, but what was interesting to me is he said, and everything about her, we're going to declassify everything about her. So not just her disappearance. So what is classified about her that didn't have to do with the disappearance? Because to my knowledge, the reason that they had classified her disappearance at first is because, they use certain technologies to locate her that they didn't want getting in the hands of, this was right before turmoil, World War II and everything like that. Of course, they don't want certain technologies that our military had landing in other people's hands. But that has since been declassified because that's old news at this point. We have other technologies. So what is it about her life outside of the disappearance?
I'm still thinking about the 11 eyes. Sorry.
It's all right. But yeah, I'm very interested in that too. My like gut reaction thought on that is that maybe she was a spy and that was what they were trying to cover up. But then again, like, I don't know. The whole thing is very weird. We know that he says things that will kind of nudge people in a certain direction. I think he's very clearly trying to tell us that there's more than meets the eye when it comes to Amelia Earhart. but what that is, I don't know. I mean, like I could believe any kind of number of goofy things.
Right. Well, I saw like what was it, History Channel, who was talking to a woman who said that they saw her at some Japanese island. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but it's the oh gosh, those islands that they had, the Marshall Islands, I think. She
Right.
was supposedly captured by the Japanese and, held in captivity and then maybe executed, possibly for
Right.
being a spy. That was a
Then I saw also a post from was Journey to Truth, who posted like an interview from what's his name, Bob
Lazar.
Woodward.
Oh,
Woodward, the one that goes into the inner earth,
oh, I don't
the
know.
weird guy with the golden thingy. And so he said that he saw her in the inner earth. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So now all these theories come up again. And I'm like, well, I hope it's the most outrageous theory ever because, bring some change in the world, I guess.
You know what's funny? I don't know that person. I've never seen him before, but I did see I know who you're talking about because you said the gold thingy because I've
Yeah,
seen clips of this guy
yeah,
recently. I've never heard his name before, but I was thinking to myself, I have this theory about Ancient Aliens. Have you ever seen that show? Have you ever
yeah.
watched the show
No,
Ancient?
but I heard about it. Yeah,
Okay, well, I happen to think that Ancient Aliens is uh it's truth in plain sight. Like they're giving us some truth but embedded with some lies and a lot of goofiness. And I think that they like you have to be weird looking in order to be on that show. You have to look like a character from the cantina scene of Star Wars in order to be on that show because I think part of it is that they want you to associate some of these beliefs with being a goofy motherfucker.
right.
Like and so I almost feel like if you came out with some kind of truth like that, they're almost going to make you have a really crazy haircut and wear something stupid on your head if you're going to talk about it.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, because that guy does look a bit weird, but I don't know. I just hope the answer is absolutely outrageous just for the fun of it. Because we could use a bit of weirdness in this world right now, just to
Mhm.
toss it all up in the air.
Well, I mean, it's not yeah, exactly. It's almost like we're just like we've been edging for so long. It's we just want to be pushed over, just like let's kick this. Let's go. Like what else is it going to take? Um
Yeah, where
and-
everybody's going to be deflated, right? And then it's like, wait a minute, right? It's a complete different, um, yeah, where everybody just snaps out of it.
yeah. Well, maybe not. I don't know and I obviously like things could go very awry, but I think that's part of the reason that people that get red pilled start gravitating more towards religion and God and spirituality is because when you have faith in something after this life, you're kind of like, well, whatever, bring it on. Like, yes, this life is ugly. This life is evil. This world is full of darkness.
Right.
We don't have any control over that. We can do the best that we can with our own, you know, human life.
Yeah, I did change my mind about death as well. And now I think when people die, I'm like, oh, they're so lucky because now they're
Yeah,
on the other side,
I
right?
know.
And before we used to think, oh my God, no, he died because, terrible. But really, it's only terrible for those that left behind because, we're still here and we have to feel all those emotions about the loss. And I do think if you die, and I'm gonna sound crazy now, it's like, oh, phew, we got out of that and you're gonna look down upon whatever on the world and you think, oh, I feel so sorry for them all.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, because I think this world is intentionally awful, but I think no matter what you believe, whatever's on the other side is. I don't think we all think that we get like it gets worse after we leave this planet. Oh God, um,
No.
maybe for some it does, and maybe that's why they seek eternal life. To me, eternal life on this planet sounds that's hell. That would be hell to me if I had to live on this
Oh
planet
yeah.
for
But
eternity.
maybe the Bible talked about hell. Maybe it was earth all along. Or
Hmm?
maybe it was this life all along.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I'm ready for things to kick off. I am not afraid of death. I know we talked about this last time too, because of what it is I believe in. And so I um
I
I
almost
feel
look forward to it, to be honest. I mean, not that I would like kill myself and think, oh, I want to be done, but obviously it
no, I
needs
know
to
what you're
go
saying.
natural because I do believe if you do it yourself, you might have to come back and do it all over again. God, that's even worse than
Yeah.
hell.
I mean, I no, I'm with you on that, and I know what you're saying, but like, yeah, me too. I think what's waiting is way better on the other side. But I want to be here with my son for as long as I possibly can be because I want to help him through it. But
Right,
and because I just want to be with him here. But I do think that there's something um better than
right.
than what we have here, and I think that that's when everything will probably make sense to us. So I'm not in this like frenzy at this point to make sense of everything on this planet because I don't think actually I'm ever going to know while I'm here on Earth, because I don't think that that's the point to being here. I think if we had the answers while we were here, it would
Yeah.
defeat the purpose of being on this planet. um I actually just realized that we've been going for we've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Oh my
Our
gosh.
usual, our usual banter and back and forth because that's what you get.
I know.
You just forget about the time. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I gotta go get my son from school here in a little bit, but,
Yeah, we
uh,
can continue the conversation next week.
yeah.
Also, I want to say thank you to Judy Ladybug. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time either, just like Christina Love. So everybody's getting back
Mhm.
online, I guess, which is really nice. And I just want to thank Justin Friend for just in case friend for all the memberships in my Rumble. Thank you so much, and thank you for everybody coming in there and on YouTube as well. So that was
Yes,
really it.
and thank you so sorry. Thank you to Just In Case Friend. Thank you to Rambo and Friends, who was also here, gifted some subscriptions. Thank you so much, and, yeah, we'll be back here next week. I don't know if we'll have a guest or not, but there's always something new to talk about every week. I will probably be doing my show on Thursday. Last week, like I said, I was doing that charity thing, so I was not around. I gotta look at my calendar. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I just released my scratch off on Pilt, so everybody
Oh my
knows.
god, I have not done that in forever.
Yeah, I thought
Do
you
they
were talking, so I could do it.
That usually takes me a while. Did they keep accumulating until you
Yeah, so
Oh.
I'm gonna go to a channel and just get loads of golden coins.
Wait, how do I do it?
You go to gold pill, and then you release scratch offs on the left.
Snakes, I don't see it.
In the
Well, I'm gonna
tab,
have you help me figure
it's
out how
in
to do that for next time. So next time, you guys, I will do this.
Okay, and I did a raid as well on Beer on the Parade.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Was that on Pilled or was that on Rumble?
Yeah, on Pills. I don't know how to do that on Rumble.
Apparently, there is a way to do it on Rumble as well, but I don't know either. I gotta get better at that stuff because, yeah, I would love to be able to rate other people. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming and our own personal household thingies here. But yeah, we're gonna be back next week and we're gonna have another topic. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
was
yeah.
fun,
Yeah. We're like the
right?
church ladies. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Love you. See you next time.